morning. I swear a lot.
Hello friends, and welcome back to Limbus Company. So, a little bit of stuff to do up front first, stuff to address, nothing bad, I promise you, but I'll keep it brief because, you know, I don't want to waste your time. But I just played a festival in Middlesbrough, literally just come home from that and am now recording. I'm hungover and I'm knackered, so I figured today we'll catch up on some Uptie stories instead of moving on with the main plot, because I would like to be fresh and bright and alert and ready to go when it comes to main story content so we can have a proper good time with it. So it's just Uptie stories today. If that's not to your taste, I do apologize, but we will be hitting Murder on the Warp Express on Friday, my time zone. Don't know what the hell that means for you. Also, I found out just before I started recording today that it's Lila the Hagsire's birthday, which is lovely, or at least it will be when you see this. So, I just wanted to say, happy birthday, Lila. Hope you have a lovely day. Don't get that warp ticket, take the bus. And I was hoping that perhaps some of you in the comments could also wish them a happy birthday, because I think that'd be nice. But either way, happy birthday, Lila. So let's hit some of those Uptie stories, shall we? I think we'll start with Wuthering Faust, because she put in so much work for us and never did get that biscuit, which is pretty sad. I shall now take my leave. Please enjoy your meal. Elegant music plays over an expensively lit dining hall. The child nods politely at the group of people dressed in noticeably expensive clothes before walking backward and silently leaving the room, just as the chief butler did. Phew. The child finally allowed herself to sigh after she made sure that the door was fully shut and that she was far enough distance away from that room. She knew what kind of discussions would be exchanged in that place. The Wolven Hunt. The Wolven Hunt? That is what one could call this battle. The battle that butlers from both the Edgar family and Wuthering Heights, the heir of the Edgar family and his chief butler, were currently discussing. What prompted this discussion? It would be the knowledge that the child once taken in by Wuthering Heights was returning home, leading a deadly march of overwhelming, shambling forces, bringing ruin and desolation to his old home. So is this implying that in any timeline Heathcliff is just leading? No, because it's an identity, it's a different world, and in this world, Heathcliff from another world, what's his name? Oh, King Heathcliff is going to be leading a procession, quote-unquote, through here. It's interesting to think, though, that in a situation like this, the way events have played out is that this is like something they're aware of. It's almost like an invasion. An invasion force is coming and they're going to have to fight it off, which they'll probably fail at, but, you know, they're going to give it a try. That would be exactly why these factions of such complicated and conflicting interests decided to come together for once. The two are now in talks. I trust that your service was exceptional. I suppose asking you this is unnecessary, as you have not once disappointed me. That's Faust. Thank you for your high commendation. I merely made an appropriate appraisal of your performances. However, the chief butler walked toward one of the doors, her eyes like those of a hawk, and slowly but deliberately wiped the narrow opening of the doorframe with the tip of her fingers. It appears that other butlers are in need of some additional education. Her fingers were wet with blood, yet to be cleansed. It appears that the cleanup for the battle they conducted against the uninvited guests earlier wasn't as thorough as it should have been. My deepest apologies. You are a butler responsible for the kitchen. There is no need for you to apologize. I do believe that it may become your responsibility to relay my opinion to the butlers tasked with cleaning, however. Understood, ma'am. Very good. Now head downstairs. They are still training hard for the hunt, yes? Indeed. Everything is proceeding as you have ordered. The child nodded politely before leaving the chief butler. After a long walk, she finds a door leading downstairs. She descends. Spooky. Ah, Lady Faust. The staircase led to a dark, blood-splattered basement. I see Sinclair there, what's up with that? But it seemed that the child was already expecting this sight. She does not even flinch her brows. Is the combat training using our previous uninvited guests going well? Oh, it's Sinclair. Yes, I think I've almost got the hang of the strategy Lady Otis told me about. Very well, please, continue. Oh, and another thing. Chief Butler Lady Otis had a comment regarding your cleanup performance. It's not good, bruv, it's not good. Oh. Please pay attention to the areas that are not normally observed as well, so our guests may not be inconvenienced. Yes, ma'am. I will put greater care in my work. Well then. After the brief warning, she wrapped her fist with her serviette and joined the ranks of other butlers in the dark. the dark where sounds of leaping, throwing, tearing, and ripping continued to echo from. A new sound joined the fray, continuing to echo through the basement. Nice. Cool. So they were literally training to prepare themselves to take on the Wild Hunt, which is really cool. I'm guessing, yeah, as, you know, events took place differently in different worlds, the way the Wild Hunt came to each one would change appropriately, right? Like, in some cases, they would just be aware of the fact that Heathcliff was on his way, and they were like, right, time to dig in and prepare. That's cool. I'm looking forward to getting King Heathcliff just so we can learn more about his story. We'll do Ishmael next. So I want to do the rank 2s and then go up to the rank 3s, I think. The Edgar Manor, wreathed in the ambient sunlight, is full of sounds of brooms and butler boots moving about its premises. Butlers of the Edgar family are busy with their last-minute deep cleaning of the manor before the Wolfen Hunt. Brooms brushing against the floor, dishes clattering against one another, loud, bustling footsteps. The child is quietly and impassively dusting the window frames amidst that clamour. Come on, let's try not to neglect these out-of-the-way corners. We have to be very thorough. Every little nook and cranny must be dusted. The child would normally have quietly taken care of it herself without telling anyone, but now that they're all busily preparing for the hunt, she decides to give them a warning to avoid drawing the ire of her master or the chief butler. It may have sounded a tad nosy, but it was her own way of caring for the other butlers. She doesn't want them to get in trouble. Even a pinch of dust particles could be dangerous for our master, you know, he's very ill, as it tends to be the case. Sorry, I'll be more careful from now on. Come on, the hunt's coming up, so let's keep ourselves in tip-top shape, alright? Of course, she wasn't just worried for her fellow butlers. It was clear from the way she spoke that she cared terribly for her master. Perhaps that was an obvious outcome. The child used to be a fixer drifting through the back streets, and she wandered for a long, long time, unable to find her purpose in life. The Edgar family took her in, gave her a roof over her head, and gave her a definite purpose to live for. Words are hard. I'm tired. Perhaps that is why the child does not tell the chief butler whenever the other child, her master, indulges in alcoholic drinks. Ah. That is why the child does not even dare open the window when her master is home, for fear of letting chill winds into the manor. Her devotion to her master almost appears like a blind obsession, which was the name of an ego, I think. Was it? Yeah, it was the Stilt Current ego, wasn't it? I think, and Ishmael had like pride of place on that one. Do you think the master would have been less ill had he not been hunting for the wolf? I doubt it. Master already lost his arm and Miss Isabella even before the hunt started. Yeah, but besides, it doesn't matter whether our master gives up his hunt or not, because that wolf won't. So this is in reference to, I'm assuming Gregor in this context, who would be Linton, I guess, possibly, probably. He won't stop until he's taken everything that our master has. Oh, speaking of which, didn't that wolf love, Love? What are you talking about? What was it again? It's nothing, sorry, I have no idea where that came from. Yeah, you know, that person who doesn't exist. Yeah, we definitely don't know nothing about them, because they're not real. There's never been a Kathy here, what are you talking about? There was a large hole where that child once stood, the child who was likely the cause of all this misery. This child grew puzzled as she suddenly felt the fog of memory from this casual conversation. But she ignored this odd sense of déjà vu. It would be much more reasonable for her to focus on the hunt rather than to get hung up on such details. Is it already time? The sun hangs over the horizon. The terrible wailings of those pulled from the other side begin to echo from nearby. The great rumbling begins to intensify within the halls of the manor. Past the window where the forces of the dead, wreathed under the orange light of the eventide, swarming up toward the manor. It really is Darkest Dungeon, isn't it? Even as I remain awake, does that endless nightmare seek to claim me. They're nothing but weaklings, an advanced party I see. The wolf caught wind of our hunt, I suppose. The other child, her master, drew his saber and readies himself, but the child shakes her head. Master, Lady Ryoshu, leave them to me, because to be fair, like, even though, Edgar family butler Ishmael is far from the best ID in that set, as it were, she fought very well for us during the Kanto. Like, really well. Like, especially towards the end, she really clutched it out. Don't be stupid, me and this fool of a master can take them out in the blink of an eye. The child waits until the warm light of the eventide, the color of her hair reflects off the floorboards of the manor's hallway. She looks into the eyes of the chief butler and her master. The two of you have a wolf to hunt. Don't let the dead waste your energy. Perhaps the two believed that this child's words had merit. Her master lowers his saber. The chief butler grumbles for a moment before sheathing her knives and crossing her arms. Only then does the child pull an oddly engraved broom and a sharp knife from the dimensional attaché case issued to butlers. They have attaché cases, I love it. Resident Evil 4. Leon! Hunting cutlery's at the ready. Oh, of course it's cutlery. Yeah, if you look at the knives, those are literally table knives. That's really fun. Nice detail. Don't get yourself killed like an idiot, because it'd be pretty stupid. The child lives up to her confidence. The well-sharpened knife cuts through the army of the dead like butter. And the generations-old broom of the Edgar family butlers keeps her enemies at bay. She routed the forces of the dead with every knife throw and every broom swing, handily knocking them down like she was dusting a particularly stubborn corner. The advanced force that assailed the manor is already looking rather thin. The intense light of the sunset shines through the windows still. Doesn't seem like housekeeping will cause them to run late to the hunt. Ah. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Butler Ishmael, because she clutched out for us, really. She really did. She was very good. Also, I love the idea of an engraved broom. I think that's very funny. But cool. Cool but funny. It's kind of strange, but I like it. I like engraved stuff in general. I think engraved stuff is very cool. So that's our rank 2s. Now we move on to our rank 3s. Which should be Chief Butler, whatever the fuck Otis's rank technically is, and then Gregor himself. Okay. I didn't notice before, but Ishmael is actually totally in this portrait. That's fun. Alright, let's have a look. Clack, clack. You there, third from the right. Yes, the one who just wiped the windowsill. Yes, ma'am. Look where the frames meet. Mold residue. Remember, no second chances. Apologies, ma'am. Clack, clack again. You there, yes, the new hire from 23 days ago. Do you not see what's wrong with your brooch? I suppose it'll look proper once I snap your neck clean. Is that what you want? I'll wear it right, ma'am. Is it snap your neck clean? I can't remember. Wait, sync. Snap your neck completely. Right, okay. Cool. The child pays no mind to the fearful voices. She leaves nothing behind but the sound of her low-heeled boots clacking against the wooden flooring. There is less than a day to go until the Wolven hunt begins. Thus begins the morning of the chief butler. She was never too nice to her subordinates to begin with, but clearly she was much more on edge than usual, and that was clear in her attitude. Lady Ryoshu? What? What? Another child, one of her subordinates, walked up behind the chief butler. Yeah, you can see her there. Her expression is grim. She's obviously gearing up to bring up a rather serious subject. The other butlers are rather anxious. They're saying that you are quite different from your usual self, that the upcoming... quite different from my usual self? Me? This is not to say that you normally do a sloppy job of overseeing our work, but you're much less lax than usual as of late. Bullshit. I would never let such imperfections slide. Certainly, but usually you often took it upon yourself to take care of such imperfections because ordering someone else to do it for you was too bothersome. The child is quite self-aware of her own behavior. In fact, this newfound attitude was a deliberate one. I'll keep my guard up, I won't weigh you down once the hunt begins. I don't appreciate you trying to read me. The child sighs as she leaves the hallway. Something didn't go according to plan. She was merely trying to keep everyone on edge so that when the wolf would inevitably come to besiege the manor, they could at least save their own skin. Respectable, honestly. But her uncharacteristic actions were immediately obvious to those around her. Right, suppose I'll stick to what I'm good at. Because I'm the best there is at housekeeping. Yeah, she is. Yeah, she is. A tenebrous night descends. The wolf, the target of this hunt. The fucking Owl King music was much more powerful than anyone had anticipated. He emerged, imposing his intimidating strength before the child and the rest of her subordinates. So they keep... Actually, I just realized you can see his hair there, and that answers my question. I was wondering if, what actually happened is that Heathcliff would distort into that wolf, and then that would lead the dead, but I can literally see the silhouette of, Earl King Heathcliff right there. So, yeah, or at least I think that's his silhouette, I'm not sure. The child instinctively knew that no matter how much her subordinates mentally prepared themselves, there was no possible future in which they will survive this encounter. So she had but one choice, and there never was an alternative. All of you, get out of here. Lady Ryoshu, he is beyond all of you. You and your pathetic skills won't even leave a scratch on him. You all suck. Fuck off. There's much work to be done back at the manor. You haven't even started your morning duties, have you? Run along, get to work. The child glared at the formidable wolf before her as she slowly drew her long knife. And that was the end of the discussion. She didn't have any more words to impart to her subordinates. She needed every strength she could conserve to even have a chance at defeating this foe. Rude. Indeed, I'm making a rather unfortunate, destructive entrance. The child's voice was as low and collected as it always was. Back when I raised you like your nanny, I hardly imagined that this is where we'd end up. But there was an odd shudder at the tip of the dagger she held, a little fear, or perhaps regret. I see that you now have much you must protect, Ryoshu. While I, as always, bring nothing but ruination, I only see what I must maul and destroy. The child fell silent. She wondered, for a moment, if things could have been different, if she had done something differently then. But they both knew very well that there was no point to such contemplations. At this point of no return, where nothing could possibly change, there was only one option left for the child. I'm just taking care of an unfinished housekeeping chore. To hunt the wolf that bears its teeth at the one who raised him. Nice, very cool, that's very cool. I'm glad I didn't watch these before the canto. Not because it would have actually spoiled anything for me, because I wouldn't have understood any of this at all without context, but I wouldn't have wanted to have known any of this. I wouldn't even have wanted an idea of any of this before I got in. I'm so glad I went into Canto 6 completely blind. That made me very happy. That's all I wanted from it. Good stuff. This is a very good idea. I like this one a lot. Very fun. I have prepared the tea as you have requested. There is a chill in the manor. Please imbibe the tea before it cools. The child placed the cup on the table with such graceful dexterity that it barely made any noise. There wasn't even the infinitesimally small clatter of the teacup against the saucer. Her politely folded hands and slightly bent back did not even flinch from its fixed position. None of this may mean much to someone who's so used to receiving such top-notch service, but anyone who's not would realize something after a quick glance at the child's service. That this child was a highly trained butler. Now I must leave your side and plan for the reception of guests scheduled to arrive today. Please pardon my absence. The child bowed courteously at the quiet man, who was fully absorbed in reading the paper in his hands. She walked backward toward the door and exited to the corridor. Her movement was smooth and continuous, not allowing even the smallest squeak as she closed the door on her way out. Chief Butler Lady Otis? There was another child waiting for her in the corridor. Faust? I trust that preparation for the guest's reception is going smoothly? She nodded as though she was already expecting to see the other child waiting for her on the other side of the door and began walking down the corridor. It seemed that the two had been working together for a while. The other child caught up to the child in a most natural, gliding gait. Everything the Chief Butler Lady Otis has ordered has been carried out. Every item entrusted to the Deviat has also been delivered without delay. They are all ready to be used for tonight's banquet. As competent as always. But I will not spare you any compliments, Faust. You must understand why, yes? From a certain perspective, the child's words and expressions appeared rather harsh, but the other child's nondescript expression did not change. Perhaps all this was merely routine to her. Yes, such perfection is expected from the butlers of Wuthering Heights, bound to this land. Yes, besides... The child continued, adjusting her monocle. Somehow I never noticed really that she was wearing a monocle. As one of the butlers in service of our mistress, it would be shameful to serve anything but the utmost excellence. That is fully understood. Very good. I will make sure that the mistress hears of your devotion. This mistress that the child was talking about had been dead for a long, long time, but she acted as though her voice still echoed in her ears. Her attitude was too bizarre to be mere devotion to the dead, too earnest to be an attempt to retain the memory of the departed. It was as though she was holding regular conversations with the long-dead mistress. Every butler under her command knew that there was something strange about this whole affair, but no one dared to question her, because that was the kind of respect that a chief butler commanded. The other child mused the same as she followed from behind. "I hear that their chief butler has contacted us." You must be referring to Chief Butler Lady Ryoshu, who left to serve the Edgar family. It has been a while since she left this manor. No need to stick with the honorifics. Chief Butler Ryoshu tells us that the hunt for the wolf is nigh. So, the stray hound returns as a wolf, returning to sully Wuthering Heights in her honorable mistress's name once again. Good. It saves me the trouble of venturing out of this place in search of this beast. The child's eyes narrowed. Do you have a problem with that? It is known to us that the wolf was once a very close acquaintance of the mastermind of this hunt, Ryoshu of the Edgar family. Faust is concerned that such emotions may cloud her strategies. Not even Faust has experienced this particular circumstance before. It's simple. The other child was speaking rather anxiously, but the child dismissed her concerns with a light scoff. I have no love for someone who abandoned this land in favor of her master, but a chief butler is a chief butler still. She's not the kind of person to be hung up on old kinships in matters as important as this. No, she will remain fully loyal to the hunt because it is something that she must see to its end. Perhaps it shall inspire an even greater dedication in her. Understood. As their conversation drew to a natural close, the stairs ended and opened up to the manor's grand entrance. It was filled with rows upon rows of butlers waiting for her orders. Interesting, what is all this for? Uninvited guests have arrived prior to the banquet. The butlers stand ready to meet the interlopers. Very well, then let us use this opportunity as a warm-up before the hunt. The child stood tall before the rows of butlers. There was a group of outsiders standing outside the manor, their garbs indicating rather clearly that they did not belong here, not that it was any of the child's concern. I apologize for the delayed reception, dear strangers. Though it may be rather discourteous of me to advise you this, I must inform you that this manor is currently not receiving any uninvited guests. The butlers began preparing for combat the moment the child finished her sentence. The child wrapped the serviette she had been carrying over her fist and muttered, "Now, dear uninvited guests, vacate the premises, if you will." Haha, and then they would, whether they liked it or not. After she punched their faces in over and over and over. I love that they wrapped the serviettes around their fists. It's so cool. Absolutely love it. It's such a good flourish. Last but not least, Grigor himself. The Edgar family heir, which is possibly one of my favorite IDs in the game at the moment. It's so cool. It's so much cooler than Linton ever was. There are things in this world one could never grow accustomed to. The bizarre tang of the dregs, a broken piece of tea leaves from the last fill of the teacup from the pot. The disappointing flavor of lukewarm Scotch whiskey diluted from melted ice. And the taste of nightmares that continue to haunt me despite my hatred of them. In that awful dream, I am visited by the one I abhor the most. The beast that took my little sister and destroyed my family. The cunning, cruel wolf who took so much from me that I can't even recall all that he's deprived me of. The one who took my arm and left me to wear this shameful, hateful arm. The wretch that took my arm, but not my life, leaving me to live out this abominable life. He never arrives alone. In this nightmare, I am beset by foes on all sides, with no escape in sight. Is this the true magnitude of my fear? A body born weak and ailing, a body that forces me to struggle tooth and nail just to survive those that seek to harm me, cannot conquer the fear from the source? I aim with the sharpened tip of my saber and stab them all with gloom-tempered swordplay I have trained my entire life in. But that nightmare always ends with my flailing defeat, its conclusion distant and unreachable. As the dream draws to a close, I come to a certain understanding. That once again, I am the robbed one, the one deprived of even a chance to struggle. Then I awaken from the nightmare. I struggled desperately to escape the yoke of my weak constitution. I couldn't simply continue to live in my parents' glory. There were far too many vultures circling me for a chance to take my place, my wealth. I could not appear weak before them. I learned how to wield a blade, trained my body. I grew far too familiar with the pain that ravaged my lungs, yet my damnably weak body cared not for my determination. It pressed upon me with such cruelty. But that is how I have protected what is mine, what I could get my hands on. A good home, quality clothes, delectable food, my inheritance. Once, I even found myself absorbed in that presumptuous belief that I may have overcome the curse I was born with. But there was something that had completely slipped my mind. The vagabond I saw at that tempestuous manor. The resentful eyes of that ill-tempered vagrant, burning with hatred behind his wet, ragged hair. He appeared before me as I was still drunk on delusion. Just like then, I could see my fear reflected in his eyes, my fear that he is here to take everything I have. He cut off my arm in the blink of an eye. I don't even want to think back to this memory. Merely recalling that memory makes my stump ache. I feel the bitter taste of stomach acid rising up my throat. But I won't be defeated like this. He wants to play hide and seek, does he? Very well, he shall have it. To sever this nightmare from me, this intangible terror, the Wolven hunt must begin. Because slaying the source of horror with my own hands is the only way to free myself from it. Nice, very cool. It barely even feels like Gregor to this point. Like, I kind of look at that character and I don't see Gregor. Even though it is Gregor. I don't know, I just don't see him. Where, pray tell, is the cockroach? I wish I looked for it back then. You know, when the screen was big. Instead of now, when the screen is small. Could be behind that name tag for all I know. Nope, I can't find the cockroach. Sad. Oh well. Not the first time I failed. Feel free to post in the comments where the cockroach is. And also, you're not allowed to Google it. You're not allowed to Google it. You have to either know or you don't know. And I'll be holding you to that. Bond of trust between us. Very important. So, yeah, I did want to... I wasn't sure when I'd really get the time to go through the Uptie identity stories of the Wuthering Heights characters that I skipped so that I could go on to the story. But I wanted to, because I wanted to understand a bit more about the background, about, you know, daily life for the Butlers, for instance, and what the fuck is the deal with Gregor, who is presumably based on Linton. Even though... like, feel free to disagree with me if I'm wrong on this, but it felt a bit like, Gregor's character in that universe was not literally a combination of Hindley and Linton, but it felt like they drew from both characters' motivations to create the character of Gregor in that universe, you know what I mean? Like, there's obviously his role as the Edgar family heir, which is Linton, but the fear of Heathcliff depriving him of everything he has, of taking everything away from him, is very Hindley. Obviously, I imagine Linton held some of that fear as well, but it definitely feels like it draws from both of those characters' fears and motivations rather than just one of them, which is interesting. I know Otis is based on Josephine, but she doesn't seem like Josephine at all. I actually kind of like how these characters, or these versions of the characters, you know, these mirror identities, aren't too beholden to the characters that they're based off of. Like, yes, Ryoshu takes the place of Nellie and raises Heathcliff, but she's nothing like Nellie at all. Doesn't behave anything like her, doesn't talk anything like her. They couldn't be more different. They just fill the same role, as it were. They just have the same role in that universe. Gregor is nothing like Linton, for instance. Linton is far too weak-willed, but Gregor is not. I love the idea that in this universe, that I don't even know if it's Earl King Heathcliff or if it's just the Heathcliff of that world coming back for revenge. It's hard to say. I imagine it's Earl King. I imagine it is that specific identity from that specific world, but from where I'm sat, it's kind of hard to say. Also, it's been a little while since we beat Canto 6. I can't remember every detail. I imagine it is Earl King Heathcliff, but it is interesting to see at least a world where the manor is straight up preparing for it, and the Wolven hunt, where they're presumably going to countermarch and, you know, track him down and kill him, even though he's more than happy to come to them. Absolutely, he's more than happy to attack the manor over and over and over until he achieves whatever it is he wants to achieve. It's very cool. I like it a lot. It's a cool little story. I do plan to you know, Earl King Heathcliff story at some point, obviously, but I need to get him first, and I don't have him yet. I'll probably just try and shard him, I suppose. How much would that cost? Wild Hunt, 400, naturally. Let me do a quick check. Ego shards, how much have I got of... That's Musso, that's a shame. I've got 32 of Heathcliff, that might take a while. It might take a while. Yeah, it might take a while. Yeah, it might take a while. Yeah, it's going to take a little bit, but I'll get there, no worries. But that's all we're going to do for today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to keep it short and sweet because I'm not well, and that sounds more dramatic than it is. I'm just tired and hungover, right? And the thing is, I don't want to ruin mainline content of Limbus Company by not being up to it, you know? Like, if I had a really bad cold or something, I'd probably delay doing the story, and I don't know, I'd do Refraction Railway or something, fuck it, who knows. But on occasions where I'm not at my best, I'm like, I don't want to give you guys a substandard performance, basically, because, you know, like, doing the upties, we don't really make jokes very much. It's more of an analysis of those scenes. But when we go through the main story, there's lots of jokes to make and observations to make, and I just don't feel like I'd make them very well at the moment. So we're going to put this off until Friday. Thursday for me, Friday for you, because I record it on Thursday and edit it, and it goes up on Friday. Thank you so much for watching. I know this is a little one, but I think we needed to do this a lot, and a fair few people have been asking me about it, so hopefully that puts you at ease now that these have been done. They are very cool. I hope you liked it. I'm off. Thank you so much for watching. Special thanks to our members and patrons: Cryolytic, Lady Luna, Zanael, Cuds, Kana Samaria, Poe, Pork Chop Lebreck, Scrubby Doo, Lifesteal, Mega Mr. Z-Man, Unclever Name, Lumen, Crystallite, Summercat, Flanny, Pincher Dragoon, Lara the Haxire, Happy Birthday, Lip Potatoes, Proxy, Caminera, Moa, Heartland, Harrick J, Dressos, Lol, Final Legend, Etherbin, Linky, Xeon Cedar, Pimplewarts, Majoko, Mymoon, Alkia, Honey Lawless, Sweet Baby Red, Jess Kitty, Plutonium Pie, Dreamer Ghost, Slap Lullaby, K-Bub, Magic Owl, The Frostbite, Monsoon, SCP-106A, Namad, and Kenny800 for supporting me on Patreon. Thank you so much, guys, and thank you all so much for watching. Yeah, I'm glad I did that. Those Uptie stories are really cool. Just getting that little bit of context, seeing the characters in those contexts was really interesting. I liked it a lot. I apologize if this isn't quite as entertaining as normal, but that's precisely why I did this today, so that we wouldn't... this dulled brain wouldn't be affecting something a lot more interesting. I'm really excited to get to Murder on the Warp Express. Believe me, I wanted to do it today, but I think it's better if we wait, and then when I'm fresh and ready, we'll have a really good time on there. I'm looking forward to it. I bet it's going to be really cool, really interesting, and not just a teeny tiny amount of completely fucked up. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too, and when we do it, I hope I see you there. Toodles, goodbye.